After the census in the year 2000, the United States Bureau of the Census reported the astonishing statistic that 31% of American babies are now being born to unmarried mothers. Even more astonishing is the fact that many of these mothers are living in long-term, loving relationships with men whom they nevertheless choose not to marry. This is a show about unmarried cohabitation. Marriage brings you legal benefits which cohabitants don't get. So what are these people missing out on by cohabiting without marriage? First of all, divorce. It may seem paradoxical to describe divorce as one of the benefits of marriage, but divorce is just the outward manifestation of the underlying rule that you can't walk away from a marriage as you can from a cohabitant relationship. To break up a marriage requires a supervised process called divorce, in which the needs of both parties in the future are taken into account. Cohabitant relationships can break up with no responsibility on the part of either partner for the other in the future. Second, next of kin status. When you marry, you become your spouse's next of kin. This can be important, especially at the hospital. Next of kin can consent to medical procedures and emergencies, can authorize autopsies, consent to organ transplantations, may have special visiting rights, and after death can direct the disposition of the remains of the deceased spouse. If, for example, there's a question whether there's to be a religious funeral or not, the next of kin has the say. A cohabitant is just a friend who does not have those legal rights. Next, spousal testimonial privileges. In all American states, there are two rules of evidence that protect spouses from having to testify against the other spouse in a criminal proceeding, except when involving violence towards the spouse. And the second is one which protects spouses against having to reveal confidential communications between a husband and wife. Cohabitants have no such rights. Very important are inheritance rights. In all American states, the surviving spouse has a right to inherit from the deceased spouse's estate, and that's true no matter what he put in his will. And I use the word he advisedly because in America, women tend to outlive their husbands, and husbands tend to have most of the money. So in practice, this becomes, in most cases, the right of a widow not to be rendered penniless in her old age because she will be able to inherit a specified amount from the estate of her deceased husband. And again, no matter what he wanted, she has that right. Cohabitants don't have it. A deceased cohabitant can leave the other cohabitant without a penny, and there is no protection comparable to that which is available to married couples. Survivorship rights. You can't be somebody's widow if you were never his wife. And Social Security benefits and insurance payments and so forth may depend upon the status of marriage at the time of death. Again, married people will have these rights, cohabitants will not. Finally, and this may be most familiar, there's the joint tax return. Heterosexual married couples are the only individual taxpayers in America who get to elect how they will be taxed. Add up your taxes if paying separately, add up your taxes if paying jointly, and see which is lower and pay the lower amount. It's perfectly legal, and only married couples can do it. If you ask cohabitants why they don't marry, typically they will say, well, we love each other and we take care of each other, and that piece of paper won't make any difference. That is profoundly wrong. That piece of paper does make a big difference.